What's going on, everybody? You're watching The Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith, hanging out today with Brett Gelman. There he is right there. What's up, man?
Hey, how are you? Good to meet you, buddy. What's going on?
Look at this guy here, Murray Bauman.
I know.
He's cutting through these days.
Look at this guy. He's really popular, you know?
He is. How long does hair and makeup take for this?
Hair and makeup? Well, usually, I'm in hair and makeup right now, so usually I have a full head of blonde hair and blue eyes. No. How much does it take? You know, about like 7 hours, I'd say. Yeah, it's like hardcore, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So Stranger Things for you has been awesome. And
it has.
Your character is absolutely hilarious. And season 3, I mean, I've seen the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's a good time. There's a lot going on there with Murray. So what's it been like to see people's reaction, and what's it been like developing this character as well?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's like really like a childhood dream come true. When I was a kid, I really wanted to be the comedic relief in like a Spielberg movie. And this is, I think, the closest thing that you can get to it, because you know Spielberg is still making incredible movies, but they're not the same as the movies that he made in the 80s. So the Duffers have their own spin on and their own take, but you know it has that energy to it, and they of course are influenced by the maestro. So, ooh, did I just call him the maestro?
I mean, you kind of have to.
I'm
right?
sorry, Stevie. Oh no, I just called him Stevie. Wait, I gotta start over. No, but yeah. So it's great to play like the comedic relief in that type of thing, and it's like, wow, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I was in the car with in a cab last night with a friend of mine. I'm like, it's kind of crazy that I'm like. How I am to kids is like how like Star Wars characters were to me when I was a kid. So it's amazing. It's like it's exciting.
So what are some of those Spielberg movies that you can think back to the 80s that you really liked?
The 70s and 80s, really. I mean, like when I first met the Duffers, I was like, you know, he's kind of like the Richard Dreyfuss of this show, you know, in the way that Richard Dreyfuss is in Jaws. But you know, like Indiana Jones, the Indiana Jones movies, E.T., and really, I mean, really those more than anything else.
Classics.
Yeah, I mean, it really feels like when we're going after the Russians that we're in like an Indiana Jones movie. It was really fun, and like Spies Like Us. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we're in that little cart, me and David, and we're in the Russians in the soldiers' uniform. It's like we're Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd in this thing.
Perfect too.
So it's really fun to be doing, and I also felt like it was the funniest season. And it's fun to like be in an action comedy and like kind of like a buddy action comedy, our section of it.
Which is nice because it's not just about the kids, because the kids are starting to grow up, and then you know, you, Winona, David, like you guys also had your storylines built out. So how cool was it to kind of play with that after first being in the show on season 2? Amazing.
I mean, I was really grateful that they wrote more for me and really made Murray more of an integral part of the story. So. And it was just amazing to, get to work with David, who's an actor I admire very much, but then also get to work with Winona Ryder, who I wanted to marry when I was a teenager and now. Yeah, it was amazing, yeah.
So why don't you take me back to growing up in Illinois and what you were like as a kid and what you were interested in, and when you got that little itch to get into acting?
Well, I was a very weird kid.
Yeah, how weird were you talking?
I mean, I just like was strange. I was like very much about my feelings. I was very much like a born actor, but I was obsessed with comedy since the age of 6.
Wow.
When my uncle was doing like this voice one time, and I was like, what are you doing? That's hilarious. And he was like, well, it's these guys. It's called the Marx Brothers. So I went to the library to rent a movie. It's where you rented movies then.
Yeah, in case you don't know, right?
Yeah. And I rented A Night at the Opera, and then I watched that movie, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And so I was, so I would be talking about movies like that with kids while they would be talking about sports and whatnot. And
you had your own niche. You were doing your own thing.
No, I know, but not a lot of friends. Not a lot of friends. But I was maybe trying to make friends with the wrong people too.
That's true. So when did you feel like you found the right people?
Still don't.
Still looking for your crew?
Yeah, no, it's like that Chris Rock joke where he's talking about the Columbine kids, and he's like, you know, they say about those kids, like, oh, they were alone. He was like, there were 6 of them. I didn't have 6 friends when I was a teenager. I don't have 6 friends now. And I was like, I can unfortunately relate to that. No, I think I have more than 6 friends. I find, you know, I'm all about individuals. No scene. I don't get along with any like type of group. but I'm all about connecting with the individuals. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, you had the UCB group for a little while there, right?
Of course, of course.
Who was your squad back then?
My squad, oh man, and they're still like my good friends. But John Daly, Paul Scheer, Rob Hubel, John Gemberling, Curtis Gwynn, Anthony and Tamanik, you know, a lot of the great people. Yeah, hilarious guys.
What did you learn from UCB?
Oh wow, I learned how to be funnier at UCB, and I learned how to fail. I learned to have like the courage to fail and the courage to be okay if the audience hated you, and to take responsibility for that too, and be honest about what I did up there.
And that's a really important generational lesson, because people in their 20s are just not accustomed to failing. And going through acting, you're going to have that all the time. You're going to get rejection. So I'm sure it was really important to learn that along the way.
Right, and it's not even just about rejection. You're going to fail the take.
Yeah.
You're going to do like not a great job in the take. And you got to be able to go, that wasn't good. I got to redo that. And what do I need to do to make it better? And I think that gives you a freedom too of like basically thinking that everything is rehearsal, you know, that the shooting, that it's all rehearsal. It's never done. You've never arrived at any sort of perfection. You keep going. And I think UCB very much taught me to like have the freedom within that and to have fun with it.
Yeah, totally. So obviously we're the TV industry now, it's really exploded. I mean, this is a perfect example of that with Netflix. Yeah. When you think about the beginning of your TV career, what did that look like? What were some of the things you were trying to hit just to, you know, get your foot in the game here?
I mean, I was really just trying to get a job, and so yeah, it was completely different. There were not that many options. People were not as excited about comedy either as they are now, and I was not seen in any type of as any type of actor who could be in a show like this. You know, I was really only going out for mainstream comedies and not getting them, but I lucked out to, like, I was on an Adult Swim show. That was really my first regular role, called Eagle Heart, which is a very good show that nobody saw. But and then I was not as picky though. And Go On with Eagle Heart, I lucked out on. But then I was on Go On, which was my first network show. And I thought there were a lot of great things about that show.
I really like that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bummer that it didn't go on.
Yeah, but it's okay, you know, because it did have like some of those problems that you find.
Which are what?
In network comedies. That you're just like, you know, you're writing for the executives and not necessarily for yourself or the people sometimes. And the executives just have too much of a heavy hand on what's happening. And I just thought that there were kind of missteps and a lack of trust in the track that we were on. But I loved it because I got to play this like archetypical NBC sitcom character again.
Absolutely.
Childhood fantasy of growing up and watching like Danny DeVito as Louis De Palma and John Larroquette as Dan Fielding and like you know, Michael Richards as Kramer and Christopher Lloyd. I really should say them, like they're better examples, like Michael Richards as Kramer and Christopher Lloyd as Reverend Jim on Taxi. Like I was like the archetypical NBC sitcom weirdo.
And I think you stood out as a result of that.
Yeah, and then that was like, you know, that was very much like, the writers are great. Like Scott Silverio is a brilliant comedic writer. And Matthew Perry was just so supportive of me, and he always wanted to give me more to do. And they both treated me really well. So they gave me this stage to shine. And he was like the type of character who really didn't have to do much to make an impact because he had such an insane energy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So going through some of the things you've done, you did The Other Guys, which I really enjoyed that.
That's movie. 2 of the best days of my life.
Yeah?
Yeah.
2 days, that was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah, but I mean, we turned like a half-page scene into like a 4-page scene or something like that. But it's funny, I have a lot of fans from that movie, from that like 4-minute scene.
Well, think about that cast too. It's Farrell, it's Wahlberg, it's Samuel L. Jackson, it's The Rock before he becomes like this huge box office star.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, it was amazing. I mean, it was crazy to work like that in that free of a way with like, you know, with Will, who, you know, I idolize, and Mark, who I idolize as well, and then, you know, and with Adam McKay, who, you know, is just one of the greatest comedic masters ever. Yeah. No, and so it would be like partially us improvising, partially like Adam and Will like feeding me lines to say, and it was just it was constant laughter, and it was like off to the races insanity.
It's really interesting because you mentioned your show from the past. Nobody saw it, but it was really good. Here's the other guys where it's literally 2 days of your life, but people are still asking you about it years later. You never really know how it's going to shake out.
You never know. Yeah, you never know. And that's why I'm really grateful that I'm, on Stranger Things and Fleabag, and that they're getting so much attention, because I'm proud of them.
Totally.
It wouldn't be so fun if you're not.
It'd be a little different, right?
Yeah, I'm lucky with like the type of people that I get to work with.
It seems like there's a lot of buzz about Fleabag. I haven't seen it yet, but why do you think it's starting to pop right now?
I think it's amazing. I think it's just that good, and I think that it's a real singular vision by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and that she manages to do something that a lot of people have tried to do and have succeeded at, but not on the level that she has, which is like, a very feminist show, but like part of that feminism is really taking in the flaws of the female character, and basically feminist in its way, in which like women are allowed to be flawed and not be ostracized, and I think it really speaks to a certain type of person, which there are a lot of, who can heavily relate to the show, of just feeling like your life is just out of control, and that maybe you're cursed with who you are as a person. Yeah.
And just dealing with that.
Exactly.
And you're not just going to be a perfect version of yourself. That's just not real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it like really dives into the flaws, and the characters are really flawed, but you can tell that she has a love for the characters, and so I think it's like kind of like cathartic for people to watch in that way.
Speaking of diving into the flaws, I think about Dr. Greg on Love. I mean, there's a guy who's laying it all out there for everybody.
That's a flawed dude. I know. That is one of the most desperate people in television history.
Desperate is a good word to describe him.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny, too, because it's like, well, I never think of these characters as being bad people, because you can't play that.
Right.
But yeah, he is just so pathetic in terms of how he deals with Mickey, with Gillian's character, and that. But it really, at the end of the day, that character is just all about him being in love with her, and wanting to be more successful than he is, wanting to be a different person than he is. And I think like that's something that creeps into a lot of my characters, is how they deal with feeling alienated from everybody else.
That's a really interesting thing to play with.
They don't really deal with it well.
Yeah.
Except Murray.
Except Murray.
He does a pretty good job with it. Well, Murray, unlike most of my characters, actually comes out better than he starts. He's very alien. He's isolated himself. He lives in a bunker. You're not doing well mentally and emotionally if you live in a bunker and you're not talking to people by choice. And I mean, it's not totally by choice. I think he's in danger too, but you get this sense though that he doesn't really like people. And I think through the course of the season, like part of his journey is learning to like people and the value of people, the value that people have in being able to do good things.
Are you interested in playing somebody that kind of fits in a little bit more, that isn't as ostracized, some of these characters?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. I'm coming out on this show called Mr. Mercedes. It's its third season, and I play my most well-adjusted character yet. I play an attorney named Roland Finkelstein, Jew. In case you were wondering, in case you were wondering if a lawyer named Roland Finkelstein was a Jew, well, the answer is wonder no more. Yes, he is. Yeah, he's complicated, and I think he is maybe even a little isolated in a way. But he's isolated because he's the person who is always like searching for justice, and that was really fun to play. Like really getting off on like the empathy of that character and the need for justice that character had. So and of course, that sexy Jewish daddy energy.
I mean, you got that going all the time.
Well, I do that all the time, whether I'm playing a flawed character or not. That's the through line. It's alienation and sexy Jewish energy. But no, I would love to. I just want to play great characters. Right. So whether they're flawed or not, I don't care as long as they're really great and complex and well written. And I've been very lucky to get to work on a lot of great writing with great directors, great fellow actors to help that to happen.
And what's it like for you now being able to actually intentionally pick those things as opposed to just needing to get work or just needing to do this in order to have my SAG card?
I feel very lucky. I think like, both, fortunately it's like kind of happened slowly for me, so it makes me way more appreciative, I think, than if it had happened at a younger age. And helps me deal with it more and take it more in stride, right. I think. But it's all relative though. It's like you get the success as you're really ready for it. So then it still feels like a hustle. It still feels like, I got to sing for my supper, and that's a good thing, I think. And I think a lot of people who keep pushing themselves, like I saw an interview with Nicole Kidman, where she's like, I don't get every script that I want to do. I don't get every role that I want to do.
That puts it in perspective.
And I'm like, that's happening to Nicole Kidman? Yeah. And is that happening? Is
that real? Sure, Nicole?
Nicole, is that real? But I also think, though, that mindset that she has is why she is still always pushing herself and doing such incredible work. So, yeah, but I feel very lucky. I feel like really lucky that I'm getting, and really grateful that I'm getting the attention that I'm getting, and that I'm being seen more as the actor that I've always wanted to be seen like. I was seen very much as like the funny guy, and they don't realize that when you're being funny, that's because you're in a comedy,
right.
And
it's not just who you are all the time,
right? And that and that you're playing a character. Not everybody who is funny in their acting is playing a character. They're going off of their own comedic personality, which is great too. I'm not like hey, I love I love Rodney Dangerfield, but like
I have some versatility here. I'd like to show is basically what you're saying.
And really, it's about, if I'm being funny, it's mostly funny because I'm delving into that character's psychology. So I'm down for whatever as long as it's great.
So when do you feel like the narrative sort of shifted on you in terms of not only just being a funny guy, but also being able to do more stuff? Was it go on, or was it something else?
I think now.
Yeah?
I think right now is when
this will certainly help.
Very much. Yeah, I think this and Fleabag have really shifted it in a big way. I think like every job that I've been lucky to get like have shifted it slightly, but this feels like a big shift. I hope.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what that brings, not only like what I get cast in, but what I develop,
You mentioned some of the directors you've worked with. Who are people along the way that you've really enjoyed or really learned a lot from, or just kind of stick out all these years later?
Janixa Bravo, who co-wrote with me and directed Lemon, a film that was at Sundance. It was the opening film in Rotterdam, and it's one of those films that was potentially not marketed properly, and so not as many people see, but I think that people will be like discovering it. I'm very proud of that movie.
Is it on streaming?
Yeah, it's on Hulu.
Okay, cool.
And you can get it on iTunes.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be remembered as she makes more films. People will be going back to that one. And but I've gotten to work with Judd Apatow, David Lynch. God, I'm like going to be. I just worked with Jack Bender on Mr. Mercedes, who's basically like a television auteur, and then all of Mr. Mercedes is written by David E. Kelly and adapted from Stephen King. So that's crazy.
That's quite a squad,
Jennifer Elkin, this Italian director who I just worked with in the beginning of the year, is amazing. I learned from all of these people. I know I'm like blanking right now on some really key people, but pretty insane.
And there's so much good stuff now, so somebody's going to stumble upon your movie. They may not have seen it, they may not have heard of it at the time, but you're on Hulu one night, you're going to find it.
I think people do, and I get, you get fans sometimes, Jason Wolner, who did like Eagleheart and did like, I did these specials for Adult Swim. I learned so much from him, one of the funniest people I've ever met. So yeah, all of these people are so talented, and I feel very lucky. People tell me that I'm picky, but I also feel like I've been allowed to be picky because I get cool opportunities. Yeah, and I'd luck out in being presented with some of these projects. So.
Absolutely. So what shows are you checking out in your spare time these days?
Oh man, well I really like Years and Years.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's amazing. I loved Escape from Dannemora. I thought that was just incredible. I thought, like Ben Stiller's direction to like the 4 performances. The guy who played her husband is amazing too. But like, you know, that's maybe Patricia Arquette and Paul Dano's like best performances, and then Benicio is
throw
just
him in
like,
the mix and forget
yeah, I just always want to, you know, I'd watch Benicio like just sit there for 2 hours. Yeah, he's like the best. What else? Like I think Tim Robinson's show, what is it called? That's on Netflix, the sketch show.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
What is it? I want to say Sorry to Bother You, but I don't think that's a film. Yeah, but his show is great. Yeah. His show is great. I don't know why I'm having like a brain fart right now. But yeah, I love that. I love that show. Yeah. So there's a few things I'm checking out, but I have a lot to catch up on. A lot to catch up on.
What's on the list?
I love High Maintenance. I think that's an incredible show. What's on the list?
Yeah.
I want to watch Chernobyl.
Just watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good.
Yeah. Looks amazing. Jared Harris.
Jared Harris was here last week.
I mean, that guy is one of the greatest ever.
That dude killed it.
I mean, he always kills it, right? Amazing.
He is, yeah. The Chernobyl,
a lot of great shows.
Yeah.
So many great shows to watch.
The death total for Chernobyl in Russia, they still have it officially as 32. And it probably affected hundreds of thousands of people.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. It's that's not the number.
No, definitely not. Well, speaking of death toll, what's the deal with our guy here? I think he didn't make his way out, right, of the mall at the end.
Of the mall? No, you see him make his way out.
Okay,
yeah, because I'm walking.
He's in the
beside
background.
Winona.
So that was one of the things that I wasn't 100% sure at. So he does make his way out of the mall.
He does make his way. What happens right after he makes his way out of the mall, we don't know.
Right.
But yes, he is like next to Winona.
He is alive. He made it out.
I believe so, unless he got like shot like right after he left. One of the American soldiers like Russian, boom.
No.
No. I think he survived that. So yeah, I know. And I hope he gets to do more antics. You know.
Totally.
I love this guy.
What would surprise people about Stranger Things in general, or Murray, or anything about the experience? Something we may not necessarily just see from watching the show.
Oh. Well, that carnival where I'm like in jorts and like and I'm done. I don't even have that terry cloth thing over. It was like 32 degrees.
Seriously?
Yeah, we like shot like from like midnight to like 7 in the morning.
Wow.
So it was like really cold. It was really cold.
That's got to be up there for one of your coldest shoots, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like no, it was
nuts. Where were you guys for this?
We were in the South.
Sure.
We were somewhere in the South in an undisclosed location, and yeah, you wouldn't think like even in the fall that it would get like that cold, but it was really cold. It was crazy, but it was still fun. It kind of like added to the fun. You know, when you're doing that show,
kind of running.
You're like on a mission, and it's
yeah.
just so amazing. You're like, oh my God, yeah, Lexi's getting shot, and we're riding rides, and like, oh, like get to the warmer, you know, like stand in front of the warmer, and that was like a full-on working carnival.
Wow,
this is really fun.
Good deal. Well, Brett, it's been a pleasure, man.
Pleasure's all mine, man.
Thank you so
buddy.
much.
Yeah.
That's Brett. I'm DJ. Check this guy out. Season 3, Stranger Things, on Netflix now. We'll see you next time here on The Sit Down.